national priorities, from digital government and national cloud infrastructure to expanding connectivity across Vanuatu. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Mr. John Jack, the Director of the Department of Communication and Digital Transformation of the Republic of Vanuatu, to chair this session. Put your hands together for him, please.
Thank you very much, Linda, for that introduction, and Honorable Prime Minister and our members of Parliament, if they are here, distinguished guests, CEOs. This is the closed-door ministerial session on Vanuatu digital transformation, but not just Vanuatu digital transformation, but I would say digital transformation in the Pacific. Having our colleagues from Tonga here with us, so welcome to the closed-door session. We have panelists for this session. We have about 4 to 5 panelists for this session, and I believe that we will have a good discussion throughout our closed-door session. We have our first panelist, whom we will introduce and give the floor to do the presentation this morning, is Ms. Alessandra Lustrati. Please forgive me if I do not pronounce the name correctly. So Ms. Alessandra Lustrati is the Head of Digital Development of the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office, the UK government. Alessandra Lustrati. Alessandra holds a Master of Science from the London School of Economics, is a development economist by background, and an accredited senior private sector advisor within the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. Before joining the UK government, Alessandra worked with the United Nations, the European Commission, and in the non-profit and private sectors, with an emphasis on inclusive and sustainable economic growth and a deep interest in the role of digital technologies for the reduction of poverty and equality. She has lived and worked extensively across Africa, Asia, and Europe, and speaks 7 languages. Please join me to welcome Ms. Alessandra Lustrati to begin our session with a presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Okay. Thank you so much. And so His Excellency, the Prime Minister, all protocols observed, and thank you so much for the great introduction. Apologies that you had to wait a little bit. There were some IT issues, but we got the slides up finally. So my task today is to provide an overview of how we think about digital transformation, in particular through having an integrated policy framework and how we can use that to basically work with partner countries and exchange between countries, like, for instance, the CTO does, to make sure that digital transformation works for the social and economic development of that country. So I will cover the rationale for digital development. So why do we even care about digital development? I will give an overview of the policy framework so that digital transformation can be a quality one. I will mention very briefly our digital development strategy, and I will then go into a practical example of how we have tried to implement that policy framework through the Digital Access Program. And then the Q&A would be later after the other panelists. So first of all, why digital development? So the way that I like to think about this is to think about both the benefits and the risks of digital technologies. First of all, obviously, the world has become more and more interconnected and interdependent, and this is now accelerated further by the adoption of AI, as we all know. Also, it has been proven over the years that digital technologies are a direct and key enabler of social and economic development. The United Nations have basically calculated that digital technologies can directly benefit at least 70% of the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals. So that's a really important part of an overall development strategy of any country around the world, anywhere. However, there are still persistent digital divides. The latest statistics of the International Telecommunication Union say that in the world, as we speak, there are still at least 2.2 billion people offline, which sounds surprising, but actually that's the reality of the world that we live in. And there is also a gender gap in that, in the sense that women are less likely than men, typically, to being able to access internet. And generally speaking, digital tools. There are also complex risks that we need to be cognizant of, both in terms of the kind of cybersecurity risks, the online safety, but also with the adoption and rollout of artificial intelligence, the risks of misinformation, disinformation, the algorithm bias and other elements have also multiplied and accelerated. So because of all of this, both the kind of benefits of digital, but also the risks, it's really important to take a very clear digital development approach in everything that we do. But what is digital development? How do we define it? In FCDO, in our work with partner countries around the world, we define it as the support to a digital transformation that is inclusive, that is responsible, and that is sustainable. And this way of looking at digital transformation in a very holistic, integrated way has served us really well in making sure that as we work with partner countries, we don't miss any important aspects of how to deal with digital transformation. We've therefore designed and developed a policy framework that has also inspired our strategy, so I will walk you very briefly through our policy framework. So first of all, we look at digital transformation as a very broad concept, digital transformation of the economy, of course, but also of government and of society at large. We don't want to support digital transformation just for the sake of it. We just want it to be inclusive, as we were saying. So in digital inclusion, we focus a lot on the forms of connectivity models that can be effective, especially at the last mile for communities that are either underserved or excluded, and also for those communities and for marginalized groups like women and girls and people living with disabilities. We focus a lot on building their digital literacy, basic digital skills, accessibility of digital services, and making sure that digital content is, as we call it, locally relevant, that really is meaningful and is really productive for the people who start joining the digital world. That is the digital inclusion part of our work, but as we say, we need to think about the risks, so we simultaneously work on what we call digital responsibility, where we work with partner countries to build their own cybersecurity capacity, to adopt tools and frameworks for online safety, and also to make sure that there is the right type of approach for data protection. Ultimately, all of this makes the overall digital ecosystem more trusted and resilient. And then last but not least, about 2 years ago, we've added also this further pillar to the policy framework that is about digital sustainability. We realize how much for many countries, and the Pacific region is definitely one great example of that, it's really important to think about climate change and the environment, and to think about both how digital technologies can be used to deal with those challenges, like for instance climate change adaptation and resilience, but also how, as we promote digitalization, we need to be really conscious about the environmental cost of digitalization. If you just think about physical infrastructure, if you think about the use of energy, and of course, again, with artificial intelligence rolling out, being rolled out across the world, if you think about data centers and use of critical minerals, so that is also a really important element to think about. And so as we go forward, I just wanted to go slightly deeper, in particular on the element of digital sustainability, because it is so relevant, specifically for countries in the Pacific region and beyond, of course. So I will say only very briefly that we think about digital transformation in a way that we can create a green digital sector. So that's making digitalization environmentally friendly, basically. But also how we can go green with digital solution. As I said, basically finding ways that we can use digital solutions and tools to support local communities and also institutions and governments to deal more with better readiness, let's say, with climate change risks. If you think about the use of early warning system using digital platforms, that's a good example. Another element of the policy framework that we've developed over the years on the basis of, I would say, at least 10 years of experience in this work, is that we've started looking at how artificial intelligence permeates the whole of digital transformation. So it is not a separate silo. It is a high-value technology that is just simply part of the digital revolution. However, because of the rapidity of how it has evolved and is evolving, and also our lack of knowledge on frontier risks, so we do not know where artificial intelligence will go in the near future. Because of that, it has to be looked at, with a particular type of lens. So when we think about AI in digital development, we first of all think about, as I say, how the shift from traditional to generative AI has created a new digital world that we all operate in. And we also look at the sort of beneficial use cases. It is true that AI can enable, for example, faster and better quality delivery of services in sectors like health and education or financial services, and this is obviously very positive. However, we also know that it can bring jobs displacement if the population is not upskilled rapidly. Some of the productivity gains, I'm afraid, are not always captured in a way that is particularly equal. And we've seen basically around the world the emergence of what we call a new AI divide. So the way that basically some countries are effectively being left behind, and as they try to play catch up to quickly adopt AI, they might not be in a position to be, as we call, intelligent customers of that technology. So really important to be aware of the benefits, the risks, and understand how different models of AI can be adopted within the context. And, and always look at more than one model, which is really important. So in terms of policy stance or posture, the things that we think about when we work on AI in digital transformation is basically, first of all, to make sure that there are the so-called digital foundations. So there is going to be no AI adoption unless you have persistent and sort of pervasive connectivity that should be affordable and sustainable if there aren't the right type of digital skills, etc. But then also you don't want to necessarily rely only on solutions that come completely only from the outside. You want to start building what we call a homegrown ICT sector can really sort of shape and adopt and adapt AI to the context of the country. Because of all the privacy concerns, algorithm bias, risks of misinformation and disinformation that we mentioned earlier, we are always keen to work with partner countries to make sure that there are AI safeguards in place. And of course, this means that when we look globally at AI, not just in individual countries or even in individual regions, there is a lot of work that the international community can do together to develop global AI policy and regulatory frameworks, at least in terms of agreeing on sort of shared best practices, if not particular standards. So all of the things that I've just explained are articulated in our digital development strategy that we wrote, and myself and my team wrote in 2024, This is a strategy for the whole of FCDO, meaning for the work that the UK government does with any country around the world when we support that country and partner with that country in the development of their own digital transformation. So if you're not familiar with that, you can scan the QR code. It's online and very easy to retrieve. What is good about the strategy is that it doesn't just give you that framework that I just presented, but it has about 14 different case studies of all the work that we've done in every single area that I've just explained, so that you can see it's quite practical actually. It's not just theory. And of course the strategy is articulated around the 4 interconnected objectives of digital transformation: inclusion, responsibility and sustainability. Those are just a kind of quick strap line to remind ourselves about what that is about. But again, from thinking about policy in a general sense and a broad strategy that we apply globally, I just wanted to give you just one example of a practical program that we've delivered, well, designed and co-designed, I should say, with many partners and countries around the world. And we've implemented it for the past 6 years now. This is called the Digital Access Program. It's a partnership of our Foreign Office with our Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. So really important, again, from our experience, what we've seen, that working across government to develop a program that can touch on all the different aspects of digital transformation is really beneficial. And this particular program is articulated in 3 pillars. Pillar 1 that is also the lead pillar or the driver of the program, that is very focused on digital inclusion, with a very strong emphasis on last mile connectivity and basic digital skills. Then the pillar 2 is about trust and resilience, cyber, online safety, data protection. And interesting, the pillar 3 is something that we've seen that is really important in every ecosystem that we worked with, which is about, again, if we want digital transformation to be really effectively indigenous and really coming from the country, we need to make sure that there is talent of that in that country, and that the existing tech startups and tech scale-ups and digitalized MSMEs and any other form of digital transformation in the private sector is being supported to really thrive in a way that, that not just the technical but also the business skills are improved, and there is a facilitation of access to finance and investment, so that that digital economy becomes also a digital economy that can interact and trade and sort of business partner with other digital economies and tech sectors around the world. So always kind of think about the interaction with the rest of the world. And obviously working with CTO, you have a lot of opportunity to think about that within the Commonwealth as a network, so lots of opportunities there. So that means that we've developed and tested something that we call the DAP stack. It's just a stack, as you call it in digital, with connectivity being really like the foundation that you cannot do without. That's why it's highlighted there in a nice yellow color. The digital skills that you want to just build on that, the digital content and services, always supported by cyber hygiene awareness for individual users, cyber security capacity for government, business, and the users themselves, online safety and data protection. And ultimately this really creates an environment for digital sort of entrepreneurship and innovation. And ultimately we believe that is, going the wrong way. Ultimately, we believe that this creates a stack that then supports also digital participation and democracy. So you want basically your citizens finally to be able to use digital for their business, for education, for their own sort of communication, also for interaction with the government, and also to have a voice in society. So we found that this stack is quite useful as a concept. Just a kind of few quick images to give you a sense or a flavor of the practical work that we've done in different countries. This program is implemented in Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Brazil and Indonesia and their respective regions. So there's quite a broad remit. Unfortunately, we are not in the Pacific at the moment, at least, but we've gathered a lot of evidence and models and knowledge that we are able to share with CTO, because it's within the Digital Access Program that we also partner with CTO as one of the specific projects that we do. So we've basically seen a lot of sort of both successes and challenges. So we've learned also from what works and what doesn't work in different areas that I've listed elsewhere, from connectivity to digital skills, but also application of digital to particular sectors. So for example, during the pandemic, We had a lot of requests from partner countries to work with them on telemedicine and access to DigiHealth, and that's what we've tested also with them. But then the reason why I was showing that first is that in order to do all of that and testing what we call technology and business models to work at a community and market level, it doesn't really kind of work properly unless you have a whole environment that supports that work. So it's even comparatively even more important, if I may say, to have an ecosystem level work where you actually support your partner countries and work together to work out the policies, the strategies, as we were hearing about an example of digital solutions for e-gov, as we were touring, outside those various solutions. We said multiple times that we need, a government has to have the policies in place, the frameworks, the regulations, standards, and various regimes to make sure that everything sort of works according to a coherent strategy. So we've done a whole kind of spectrum of work from supporting countries to design their national broadband plans, to have their kind of e-gov strategies, to work in building the capability of the telecoms regulators on really critical things like spectrum management, for example, that really moves the dial in things like connectivity. And generally also enabling policies and other type of frameworks for digital entrepreneurship. So without reading through all of that, you can see it's quite a range of things that you can do at the policy and regulatory level that can really move the dial for your digital economy. Then, as I've spoken quite a lot about this program, but you would wonder, okay, but what has it achieved over the years? This is just a very quick summary from our latest review, which was at the end of 2025. So we've directly impacted over 18.6 million people in over 8,000 communities, and we've supported our partner countries to reduce the connectivity gap by over 35% in average, which is quite an achievement. But at the same, while that is really good for the communities and the people that benefit from this support, and what is even more important is to have demonstrated some models, both technology and business models, that can enable that, because then those models are what we've been disseminating and sharing and comparing with other countries in the relevant regions, because obviously development programs always have limitation of resources, as you know very well. So the way to make it really sustainable, or at least to try and make it sustainable, is to extract the model and the evidence and share it more widely, both country to country, but also with regional organizations. And of course, again, I think the CTO can offer quite a good platform to maybe share some of those lessons and models if they are of use to any of the CTO members. And last but not least, in all this process, besides demonstrating over 100 digital inclusion models over the years, we've also supported over 50 policy and regulatory frameworks. So working at those two levels that I was talking about. I won't go into too much of the detail of the DAP delivery model, but just to say that to do programs like this, what we've learned is that it's really important to be very agile, very flexible, very demand-driven, really understand the context. We started from very in-depth country diagnostic that we did ourselves as people working on this program day in, day out. And then we've worked in collaboration with the partners, both internationally, International Telecommunications Union, for example, of course the CTO, but also the Dynamic Spectrum Alliance and others. And then at local level, we've put a lot of emphasis on looking at what are the local institution organizations and other forms of initiatives in each country, where there is already some expertise and some talent and some plans and sort of maybe some innovations that we can really support, so that it's always a mix of international and sort of local efforts. And I'll stop there because the QA I think will be later, but I just want to say thank you so much. And if you want to have more information on that, scan the QR code and also follow us on X. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lustrati, for the insightful and very detailed presentation on some of the work that through FCTO you are carrying out throughout the Commonwealth. If there are any burning questions that we need to ask Ms. Lustrati, if there is none, I would suggest that we keep the questions till the end of the presentations. I know we have some limitations in terms of timing, but let's move straight to our next presenter. I was told that there will be a virtual presenter. I'm not sure whether she's online. No, she's not online, so we will move to Mr. Thomas Bruce, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Vodafone Vanuatu. Do you have a presentation? Okay. So Mr. Thomas Bruce is the Chief Executive Officer of Vodafone Vanuatu. Many of us around the room know who Thomas is. He was appointed in April 2023 as the CEO with over 25 years of experience in the telecommunications sector. He previously served as the company's CTO, Chief Technology Officer, bringing strong technical and strategic leadership to his role. He is leading efforts to expand network capacity, strengthen resilient connectivity, infrastructure, and drive digital innovation, including development of digital financial services. His work continues to support reliable communications and digital growth across Vanuatu. Please join me to give a round of applause for Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Director DCDT, Mr. John Jack, the Honorable Prime Minister, High Commissioner, British High Commissioner, DG, and other distinguished delegates, also from the Pacific. Welcome this morning. I have the pleasure to share a bit on the topic on strengthening digital connectivity and infrastructure resilience. From the point of view of Vodafone Vanuatu, we acquired the business in 2017. Following that, we rebranded from TVL to Vodafone, and we launched 4G services in December 2017. That was the first 4G services in Vanuatu in December 2017. And from then till today, we just saw the increase or the growth in data has been exponential till to date. So we have close to 140 plus sites across the islands. We all know that Vanuatu is an archipelago, the islands, and that's where some of the challenges comes up with operational maintenance or maintenance costs to these sites. However, we have been providing connectivity, and I think from the regulator TRBR report in 2024, we've covered a mobile penetration of about 96%, both DG and Vodafone Vanuatu. So I believe that we've come a long way. We've provided connectivity to our rural, even to our remote rural areas. And also a policy that we have been working with the government is the UAP policy, Universal Access Policy, where we actually install sites that are not economical, but bringing connectivity, bringing digital connectivity to these rural and remote areas. I remember traveling on a boat for 18 hours to launch a site in northwest of Santo, which is a second bigger island. So the challenge is great in terms of accessibility, in terms of transportation, to maintain these sites. If you, just to give you a perspective of the length of Vanuatu, it is over 900 kilometers in length from south to north. If we spend this 900 from Villa to Fiji, that's the length from Fiji to Villa. That is the length of islands that we have here in Vanuatu. Okay, so apart from building sites and providing connectivity, before we used traditional transmission, radio transmission. Today we have we are using satellite solutions as well, like Pacific satellite, Starlink as well for backup, for backhauling our sites. So usually we used to have only one link going up to north, and it was a nightmare in the early years. When one site would go down, all the other sites up north would go down. So we had to build in redundancy, pathways to our islands, our remote islands, our outer islands, up the north and south. And we are very grateful to the government. I think last month they've launched the project of connecting our second subsea cable to Nickelodeon. At the moment, we only have one subsea cable that's provided by ICL. Hopefully by 2027, that's the target, we should have our redundant subsea cable to Nickelodeon. Not only it will provide connectivity, but it will provide monitoring as well. I think they will have sensors on that to provide better reporting in terms of earthquakes and etc. We've learned a lot over the years with different disasters. We've had cyclones, we've had earthquakes, and we still have a current earthquake. We have a current earthquake now in Mbai. In 2018, it displaced 18,000 people on that island. And I think the government is monitoring that closely. So those are the types of challenges that we have. We have cyclones, and even one year we had twin cyclones, where it devastated our nation here. But we've learned a lot, and we've built resilient structures. We built stronger towers, and not only that, we've also introduced, in terms of digitalization and transformation, we've introduced our e-commerce platform to also allow our customers to be able to buy online. So what other parts of the world can achieve or can do, that can be done here as well in Vanuatu in terms of purchasing online. We also have another very good product of our digital wallet, and it's called Mvatu. That's actually taking off at the moment, and we're trying to educate people. We're trying to encourage people to start using them. We've seen a big uptake of remittance, international remittance, through from Australia and New Zealand mainly, because most of our RSC workers work in Australia and New Zealand. And to the tune of about over 300 million in the last year. So that's a significant amount of money that's been also pumped into the economy. And this is through our mobile wallet, which is working fantastic. And I think it's a great success, and with the uptake and more marketing, more awareness, I think this product will really take off and provide more for the economy. I think just on the challenges, and I think that's where I think the government is aware of most of these challenges. I think Fred Selmel and John Jack may have heard this many times. So as I said, because of the group of islands, one is the cost of operation. We are happy that our domestic airlines, domestic transportation has improved. The boat transfer to the islands has improved with new boat services. And the other one is fuel, the fuel cost, and just the logistics as well, and also landowner issues. Sometimes it's very difficult to secure a site to build a tower because of multiple land claimants, and we have to work with government and the lands department to try and expedite this. So currently, one of our projects is affected at the moment to increase the transmission capacity up to the north. We couldn't get a site on Epi, one of the islands. So that's one of the challenges that we face. The other challenge that we have is digital literacy, and our team is working very hard in terms of providing local language as well, in terms of our products. Particularly the digital wallet. I think they are in a couple of the islands now providing that awareness. And as our first presenter highlighted, it's important that we go to our customers with the language that they could understand. And so that's where, in a short brief, of where we are from Vodafone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thomas Bruce, for highlighting some of the challenges that as an operator in an island nation like Vanuatu experiencing. We will now move to our next presenter, which is Mr. Gary Su Fong, the Chief Executive Officer of TTCL Vanuatu. Mr. Gary Su Fong is the Chief Executive Officer of TTCL Vanuatu, appointed in August 2024, with, again, 25 years. I'm not sure whether these two plan to have 25 years experience before being appointed as a CEO. Anyway, with over 25 years of experience in telecommunications, he brings strong leadership in driving customer-focused growth and digital innovation. He has led key initiatives to expand connectivity, enhance digital financial services, and promote digital inclusion across Vanuatu. And as his leadership, TTCL continues to play a vital role in the strengthening of connectivity and supporting community development nationwide. Please join me to welcome Mr. Gary Su Fong.
Sorry, I prefer to stand. Good afternoon, Honourable Prime Minister, DG, Directors, Your Excellency, distinguished guests. So today I was asked just to speak a little bit about digital connectivity and strengthening digital connectivity and infrastructure resilience. So I think my talk is a little bit around just creating that thought-provoking type discussion around what actual digital connectivity is. I think we all have very different views and understanding of what digital connectivity is. Anyway, I can speak. So I think traditionally connectivity has always been thought about coverage, speed, download, upload, a traditional network. But I think connectivity is more around not just being infrastructure, but what it actually provides to people, communities, and the actual government itself. So, if we look at what traditional connectivity means compared to what it actually means in today's world, it's very different. If we talk about access, we're talking about things like a mother in a remote island, how does she get health telecare, for example? When we look at businesses, how do businesses reach their customers, not just locally, but also offshore? And then also in terms of when we have things like natural disasters, which we have had quite recently, how we can actually communicate with the community in general. So connectivity itself has definitely changed. Disruption happens, and it has happened, as I said, quite recently, and we need to make sure that we have a resilient connectivity infrastructure in the country, and how we work together to bring that together. So I guess just to show a couple of different case in point in terms of why it actually matters and why it's important to Vanuatu. I'll do this as well. In terms of lifeline in crisis. So I think across the Pacific, as I said, we see how quickly disasters can actually isolate communities. In moments like this, connectivity is key. If we look at things for emergency communications, how families can keep in touch with each other, how we reconnect, how we coordinate our response platforms, whether that's through emergency services, how we relocate people, etc. It's super critical in terms of having that connectivity in place for times in crisis. When we look at economic side of it, I think if we look specifically around business, and these are things that we're trying to work together at the moment with our partners and also our business customers, it's essential for local business. How do businesses market to their customers, whether it's through social media platforms, whether it's them creating their own online platforms, etc. Tourism obviously being big here too. How do we actually promote the country and get people to come to the country through digital connectivity, and building that ecosystem for our entrepreneurs. So I think it's essential to have that digital connectivity in place so businesses can create their own platforms, they can take payments, they can facilitate orders, etc., manage customer databases, back their data up, etc. All of that relies on digital connectivity. And then finally, as another example, financial side. So as Thomas just mentioned before, Digicel also has its own e-wallet, so MyCash. That connectivity provides customers in country to send and receive money instantly. So, you know, we've heard examples before where customers traditionally would have to send money to some of the banks, or they might send it through Western Union example. I think classic example that always sticks in my head is there was a customer who received, I think it was 25,000 Vanuatu from their family member. It cost them 10,000 Vanuatu to travel to the closest bank to get their money. So these types of things with the connectivity removes those costs. It gives customers the opportunity to get those things instantly. Paying for goods and services as well. You know, we can do that with our wallet product, but it's how we create that connectivity so we can facilitate goods and services being bought, sold and remitted through electronic payments. And I think probably the most important is how do we get people to participate in the formal economy. So there's a lot of people the underserved, who actually this is the first time they're actually getting that visibility and that access to have, you know, what most people in the normal world would have as take it for granted. They're seeing access and getting that for the first time. So all of these different things are all why digital connectivity is important and why it actually matters in Vanuatu. And then I think as we move on, it's like, as I said before, previously we used to think about connectivity being access, but now it's about how we have that reliability to make sure that we have assurance. So it's not just about making sure that you have access, it needs to be reliable access. We need to design networks that can withstand disruptions. We need to have systems set in place that can recover. We need to have backups. We need to have resilience in our network, and our ecosystem and our network actually needs to be agile, and we need to adapt with the technology that we're regularly facing. So I think one of these, I guess the key point that I wanted to leave as part of this discussion was, you know, as Digicel, we see ourselves as part of that. We see ourselves as part of the connectivity and part of the infrastructure. And I think we understand the importance that we play in terms of that national infrastructure and how we can deliver all these things to the community. We continue to invest in connectivity that empowers our communities. So, you know, we participate in the UAP as well. So we're not just building infrastructure where it's all about generating business. It's also about how we empower community and provide the underserved with access to the basic needs that they should already have. We're always looking at how we strengthen our systems so we continue to make sure we have a reliable network. We have multiple redundancy paths. With the second subsea cable, we'll also have access to domestic fibre, which is important for us. So we have a number of microwave links, but those fibre links will give us additional redundancy across our network. So we're always looking in terms of how we can adapt and invest in those types of things. And then it also comes down to our partnerships. So we partner with a number of NGOs, government organisations, in terms of how we can ensure that no one's left behind. So at the moment, working closely with Ministry of Finance so we can integrate our mobile wallet as a payment option. So when customers receive money directly from overseas, through remittance through their families, they can automatically use that money that's in the wallet to make payments on services or licenses or registrations without having to cash out and go to the government office and line up. So all those things we're looking to invest in, and I think we see ourselves as a key infrastructure partner of that. But I think the key thing which we see is the future is about how we expand the connectivity. So it's not just coverage, it's capability. So the capability of what the network can actually do, but also what additional capability we can provide for our customers and for the community that we serve. At every level, we're always thinking about how we can put extra resilience into the network, whether that's through redundancy, whether it's working through partnerships to make sure that our customers have their data backed up, or they have additional network infrastructure that we can provide support to, and how we collaborate. So I think collaboration is key, and I think that's one of the key things as part of this discussion is, while we see ourselves as part of that infrastructure, and while we see ourselves as part of that, it requires everybody. So not just us as operators, but also the industry, government, NGOs, to make sure that we can put this together, because all these systems and platforms that we're talking about at the moment, they all require digital connectivity. So we all need to be working together to ensure that the infrastructure that predominantly we play in can support what we're trying to achieve for the government together. Because if we don't do that, then I think we're kind of working different angles. It's not going to work. It's not all going to come together the way that we want it to. So as I said, this is a collective commitment. And I think just in closing, I think it was actually mentioned in one of the opening speeches this morning, but I think for Vanuatu, it's not just how about we keep up with the world. It's not just how we do the latest technology. It's making sure that, you know, our people, our economy and the future is all connected no matter what the circumstances. So we need to have a resilient network. We need to make sure that no matter what comes our way, that the network and the connectivity that we provide can withstand any of those disruptions. So I think that's that's the opportunity that we have in front of us, and I think that's a responsibility that all of us share together. So, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gary Sufong, for highlighting our roles as stakeholders in participating collectively to achieve our goals in providing digital connectivity, not just digital connectivity, but building an ecosystem that is adaptable. We will now have our final presenter, who is Honorable Fred Louis Samuel, who is the Member of Parliament for Evate Rural Constituency, Vanuatu, and also ICT Special Envoy for the Government of Vanuatu. Honorable Fred Louis Samuel is representing the Evate Rural Constituency in Vanuatu as a Member of Parliament, a respected telecommunications and information technology expert. He brings extensive technical and policy experience to his role. Prior to his election, he served in several senior government positions, including as Chief Information Officer, where he played a key role in advancing digital systems and ICT development. In addition to his parliamentary responsibilities, Honorable Samuel serves as ICT Special Envoy for the Government of Vanuatu, supporting national efforts to strengthen digital transformation and connectivity. And Honorable Samuel will give us some insights into how we will be unlocking efficient public service through robust digital public infrastructure. Please join me to welcome Honorable Samuel. You have the floor.
Thank you for the short intro, Director of TCDD. So I take this opportunity to also congratulate you and your team for organizing a very successful welcome ceremony, and wish you all the best for throughout this week. Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Jordan Nabat, Minister responsible for telecommunication, SG for Commonwealth Telecom Organizations, all protocols observed, officials and guests who are present this morning. John has already made a few remarks about myself, so I won't go into that one, but it gives me a pleasure to give a very short, brief statement on unlocking efficient public service. Obviously, I was fortunate to start my telecom career when there's only fixed line telecoms, working for Telecom Vanuatu, which is now Vodafone. Internet was about less than 100 people with access to internet. We were using AMD's mobile phone with probably less than 30 customers. And we were using satellite connection. That was way back in 97, 98. Obviously, over the last 30 years or so, a lot of things have changed. A lot. I think one of the major achievements for Vanuatu was the liberalization of the telecom market, and I'm pleased to say the Honorable Prime Minister, who's present here, and the DG of Prime Minister's Office were one of the key leading champion stakeholders to oversee the transformation. Honorable Prime Minister, a testament to you and the team at the time. We're now enjoying the benefit of a fully liberalized and very competitive environment. We've also witnessed the setup of the government broadband network, the centralization of data, servers and system, the one single platform. We've seen the significant rollout of 4G services. We've witnessed the implementation of our first submarine cable. So there's a lot of things that have happened, not only globally in terms of adapting to global technology changes, but there's also significant achievements that have been done domestically as well. Also, I'd like to also congratulate the government. Not only they set a policy direction for liberalizing the market, but setting up the key institution to improve governance at the regulatory and policy level, even having the political will and centralizing broadcasting, telecommunication, and ICT into one single ministry, led rightfully by the Honorable Prime Minister, in recognition of ICT being a cross-cutting tool that benefits every sector in Vanuatu. So congratulations to all of us of coming this far. Obviously, time has changed, new challenges, technological evolution. The AI now has become a major game changer in the technology world. And obviously the speed, the fast broadband network and the advancement of mobile devices means it brings challenges, but also equal opportunities to improve our services to the people, and in particular for government. I'm not here to talk a lot of good presences have gone, but Honorable Prime Minister, if I may say it, I think in order to improve public service and adopt the advancement of technology to improve public service, firstly, it is important to harmonize. First one is to harmonize our legislations. Today, as we rightfully heard from the SG of CDO, we need a whole of government approach. I like that statement. So I would say the key is that it is important through the Prime Minister and also the National ICT Steering Committee to ensure that everybody harmonize the legislations. Today we have silo of not only systems, but also we have certain legislations that protect certain directors or certain agencies in integrating with the whole of government approach. So I think we need to harmonize our legislation in order to be able to move into a fully integrated and interoperable platform where we can have a central data intelligence systems that connects through an API developed for and interconnect with all the government departments. Once we have the systems in place and we amend or improve the legislation to support the trend, I'm sure we're building a good platform for an efficient public service delivery. That's when we will able to have access to data in real time, but also being able to develop application that is able to serve all our citizens, and regardless of which sector they come from. My second comment would be there needs to continue to be investment in ICT applications and systems. I think in the previous ICT policy, we put up to 5% of operational budgets for government needs to be invested on ICT. I think it's important to continue to reiterate that the government needs to put more investment and money into technology advancements for public service. Thirdly, let me re-emphasize the need or the importance of the domestic connectivity. We're having the second submarine cable, which is important, and I'm glad that this government stood by its statement during the formation of government last year that we will definitely embark on our second cable and also on domestic connectivity. So, Honorable Prime Minister, on behalf of all of us, I'd like to congratulate you and also the Council of Ministers for taking the ultimate decision. We're now moving forward. The second cable connectivity would not only provide resilience, faster access, but also improve our environment and attract hopefully more potential foreign investment into Vanuatu. Secondly, as Bruce and the CEO of Ministerial stated, the challenges of connecting to the islands. I'm pleased that the government has now embarked and approved the project to connect Dana, Evade, Malakula, and Sando. So hopefully this will provide faster international broadband and hopefully cheaper access that will solve, I hope, a lot of problems faced by the telco in managing the domestic radio infrastructure. So that will be a great news for Vanuatu. And of course for the government as well, providing faster bandwidth access to some of these major big islands would allow and improve the efficiency of public service. I think that's a very short statement that I can contribute for this morning's session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Fred Louis Samuel, for his statement outlining 3 identified areas where, as a public sector, we need to address to push our digital transformation agenda. I think these are very important points, and having leaders in the room, maybe Honorable Prime Minister would like to make a statement as well. I will give this opportunity. Oh, okay. The Prime Minister. Leaders, we've heard about, from our first presenter on policy and regulations, some of the policies that, identified to be key policy decisions to move, digital development. And we've heard from our operators in terms of the challenges that they are facing in terms of rolling out digital connectivity, and also from one of our presenters from Ministerial, outlining the importance of meaningful connectivity. And there was a slide on, where it shows kind of like a pathway for access, reliability, and assurance in terms of digital connectivity. And then we've heard from our Honorable Member of Parliament outlining 3 identified areas that we need to work to strengthen digital development in our countries. I would like to give the floor if there's any particular questions for any of our presenters. I know we should be wrapping up the session in 2 minutes time, so just a short, Honorable Prime Minister has a question.
I have a question, and I would like to direct this question, and also excuse my ignorance. I'm not an ICT person, but it's something of very critical and importance, especially at the at the policy level. I don't know, maybe the first presenter. You are faced with the situations on building the critical infrastructure and relying on external support. How do you leverage that particularly in the policy directions, at the same time mindful of the security and the sovereignty of the state.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. I will give it to Ms. Illustrati.
Thank you so much, Honorable Prime Minister, for the great question. So we've been discussing this type of challenges with quite a few partner countries, and it's fair to say that each partner country will make its own decisions on how they want to deal with what they call digital sovereignty. Sometimes we prefer to use the term digital resilience and also sort of smart interdependence, because basically in the world almost no country really has all the elements to be fully self-contained when it comes to the digital world. Even the countries that you might consider a little bit more advanced on the ICT side, they're still integrated in very complex global supply chains for every technology that we use. When you think about the semiconductors that are used in, for instance, the deployment of artificial intelligence and anything else that is in the ICT sector, it shows that we are all interdependent, whether we like it or not. However, your question is really important and really useful, because certainly as part of the policy framework, regulatory framework, but also let's call it development plan, for lack of a better word. Each country really needs to be conscious about how, if they invest in their critical national infrastructure, utilizing different parts of kind of different supply chains or different elements coming from other countries, then certainly the first thing that they would want to do is to strengthen as much as possible their cybersecurity capacity. One thing that we've done for, and that's not only that, but I just want to just unpack that point slightly. What we've done with different partner countries is supporting them to do their baseline assessment in terms of what is their cybersecurity capacity and maturity model. This is a model of Oxford University that has been used for several years, and these assessments are useful to understand what is your baseline capacity and what you need to do to strengthen some of your security arrangements, so to say, so that as you interact, you meaning it could be Vanuatu or any other country in the region or in the world, in fact, so I'm making a general statement here, what you need to do in order to be as resilient as possible when it comes to the interdependence with other parts of the world. So that's just the cybersecurity side, but obviously also things like where the investment comes from, and therefore, the ability to switch from one technology to the other, or one model to the other, also comes from obviously the resources that the country has and where that sort of type of finance is coming from. For example, if you have, depending on your relationship with organizations like the Asian Development Bank, given that we are talking about this region, ADB is quite good at trying to support countries to have different packages for investment with type of financial instruments that support the countries to equip themselves for digital transformation, but also building that capability, which is not just cybersecurity, but also switching from one technology to the other when needed. That's physical infrastructure side of things. And maybe just very quickly, I would add that it's important not to think only about CNI as critical national infrastructure as the physical one, but also very much the sort of virtual architecture that you set in place, or that you established to develop what we call digital public infrastructure. So we were looking at it together during that sort of exhibition tour. So DPI is made of basically digital ID, digital payments and data sharing. And in the choice of those solutions also, normally our advice to partner countries is to look at different models, think about what works for them, and be kind of, in a way, intelligent customers of the different solutions so that they pick and choose what really works for them. There is also a way to work on that is through open source and not necessarily being locked into one particular sort of package in a way. You can read between the lines there, and in that kind of can give you the opportunity to build your own suite of tools that really make sense for a country like Vanuatu. So I would say CNI as both physical and virtual in a way, thinking about interdependence and resilience rather than just sovereignty as kind of absolute
absolute self-containment, and really useful to do some kind of basic assessment to just look at where you want to enhance a little bit more things like cybersecurity. That, of course, is important for all of us. I hope it makes sense. Sorry, it's really in a capsule, but very happy to give you more information on that with the director through CTO. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the response. If there's any other question, yeah, Honorable Prime Minister.
This on a policy matter. My question will be directed to the two CEOs, not from the commercial perspective, but more on the policy issues on integration, looking at the two networks, and just very interesting to note the financial cost and whether it's something that is possible to integrate towers, the infrastructure, so that it can suit a win-win situation rather than from a very commercial perspective. Would that be something that you would consider specifically on the policy perspective from the government? Because if this is something that is visible, then whether we can do it through the universal access policy or purely from the government.
Thank you. Thomas and Gary, who would like to go first?
Thank you, Prime Minister. I think we have had some initial discussions already in terms of tower sharing, but I think speaking from Digicel's perspective, we would be open to looking at having that either in policy or UAP, or whether there's a model that we can provide our towers, Vodafone, Myos as well, and there also might be some government towers where we can cooperate together on that opportunity. So we would be open to discuss that.
Yeah, thank you, Honourable Prime Minister. I think it's a good point. I would have wished that this had been implemented years ago, but it's not too late, as we see that cost is still an ongoing issue, and very costly for both operators. So definitely, anything to do with co-sharing infrastructure would benefit definitely both the operators. I know in some countries, in fact, there's actually a company, I think Pacific, is actually building towers, and both operators go and share the infrastructure instead of any of the operators building. So I think there's different models, but all welcome to go ahead with the co-sharing. So.
Thank you, Honorable MP.
A very good point raised by the Honorable Prime Minister about tower sharing and potential to reduce cost of doing business, especially in the very difficult remote areas of Vanuatu. And I'm glad to hear that both CEOs have very positive reactions about potential cost-sharing of infrastructure. Prime Minister, maybe perhaps this is something that we can take it up with the regulator once the formal appointment is done. This could be a priority policy matter to take it up with the regulator, and the regulator could take lead on that. An example is in one or two, not one or two, a lot of places where you go there and you see Digital building a 20 to 30 million tower, and just 5 or 10 meters on the road, you find Vodafone spending the equal amount of capital investment on the same tower. And imagine if they just use one, they would have reduced the cost of the capex by 50% or more than that. So definitely a good point raised by the Prime Minister, and I think it's good to get a good reaction from the two operators, and I think that's something that we should collaborate and make it happen. So it reduces the cost of doing business into some of our remote places and hopefully improve access to our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much. CTOSG, you have a question. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to share some of the experiences from the Caribbean for remote, very remote locations where you had installations. We'd actually train villagers to help in basic maintenance of equipment, and that saves you having to ferry your people from a central station out. That is one of the things that they did quite frequently. And it worked out. For routine maintenance and so on, you have the people in these remote locations. You know, if there's a catastrophic failure or something else, then you would need to deploy. You may need to deploy. So I'm just putting that out. I don't know whether you all do it here or not. You do. Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just mindful of our time. I think we've run past our time where we should finish. But that was a very important point that was raised. The question about collocation. Honorable Prime Minister, we are piloting one first tower right now. Thanks to the regulator for providing funds to build the tower, and thank you to UNCTF for funding the power. The power will be, as of yesterday, they shipped the materials for building the generator shed, and the generator should arrive at the site the second week of April, and then from there we will. We've developed a regulation, that the Telecom Regulators Act on infrastructure sharing, and I think the regulator is about to sign off on the regulation to instruct the operators to go to the tower sites and put their equipments on the tower site. So we're trialing the first one. Once it worked out, we will definitely work. We need to put out policy papers and legislations to cover that. But we are piloting our first one. That will solve not just the cost of towers, but also the issues of land. As mentioned by our CEO from Vodafone, there's a lot of land issues when Vodafone goes to put in a tower, or TCCL goes to put in a tower. But our experience with us, the government, when the government owns the infrastructure in a location, people respected the government more than the operators. I'm not saying that the government should own all the lands, but it's something that we can work out, and definitely a policy paper would really help in facilitating that process, where we put in a tower for infrastructure, for co-location, and that land is a state-owned land, and people respected that. That's just a complimentary answer to the question, and provide some way forward in terms of developing policy papers around that. But let me take this time to thank all our panelists for their insightful presentations and giving us some overview in terms of some of the way forwards, and also some of the challenges that we have, and with some of the way forwards in terms of policies, strategies, or some kind of like a technology stack. There was a digital adoptable stack that was presented by our presenter from the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. I think those are some things that we will learn from. So on that note, let me ask all of us to join in thanking all our partners by giving a round of applause to all our presenters. And that takes us to the closing of this session. So thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister, for staying through the morning until now. And thank you to Honorable MP Fred Samuel, who has been with us since morning. And thank you to SG. Thank you to our CEOs. Thank you to our colleague from Samoa, who has been with us throughout the morning. And of course, the DG and our private secretary to the Prime Minister, and our High Commissioner from the UK. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you, Excellencies. That was very deep reflection. Today's conversation is beyond just a reflection, it is a direction. And shared recognition that digital transformation is no longer optional. We have to work together. And thank you very much, Mr. John Jack, for chairing this session. We have lunch at the restaurant of the hotel. We are going to be guided by the protocol officers from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to where we are having lunch. So we'd like to invite all our distinguished panelists and participants to join us. Please join us for lunch. And after lunch, this session is definitely closed. You're invited to join us in the conference room for the next 2 sessions of the day. Thank you.